and probation, fifth floor on the new side, is also seeking utilization for their offices. I have met with Dewberry, and I'm waiting on a response for their services, and we'll be bringing that to the board and infrastructure soon. Happy to answer any questions.
Do you have any questions for Calvin? Thank you. And our next one, we're going to hear from a person that we don't hear from very often, Heather McCord, and she's going to speak to us. And I'll be honest with you, Scott, I don't know where you found her, but I don't know really her background, whether we put something out and I didn't get it read, but I'm sure glad you found her, or you stole her away from somebody, because we know she's been doing an outstanding job for us. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you very much. I just want to point out a new report that will be in both the Finance Committee and the Infrastructure Committee packets starting this month going forward. We thought it would be helpful, since we have so many projects going on at the county and we're investing so much in our community. We thought it would be a good initiative to kind of compile all of the projects onto one sheet. So on the report, you'll see the project or the initiative that we have going, what funding source it's coming from, what we have spent in fiscal years 22 and 23, what's budgeted for 24, and then what we have spent to date in 24, if you skip over a couple columns there, and then the project balance. And then in the second to last column, you have the budgeted total for the entire project over the life of the project, because some of these are multiple year projects. Some of them were started in 22 and they're still going on. So we just wanted to get this in front of you. And then the final column is the actual progress to date of the project. And that's, Calvin has been really helpful in providing that information, because I may know the financial piece, but not necessarily the project management piece. So.
Sharon?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I talked to Scott earlier about this, and I just wanted to bring this to everyone's attention. The second line from the bottom says projects for the board to determine in FY24. That's ARPA funds. There's about $955,000. I guess we'll be having, do you want to elaborate on that, Scott?
So to date, that is the amount of original ARPA allocation that is been not previously designated by policy of the board. So at a future finance committee meeting or executive committee meeting, sorry, executive, because that's where ARPA goes through under the rules, we'll be preparing for and bringing forward some ideas and probably some recommendations on how you might want to allocate that last $955,000. And obviously that could go to any number of eligible expenses. It could go towards economic development. It could go towards capital improvement projects. It could go towards broadband. It could go to the list of eligible things that we could spend that on and other infrastructure projects is pretty long. And so we'll, the finance team and I will generate some based on how you're currently spending your dollars, how we might suggest you spend those remaining dollars, and then exec will have a policy discussion about that here in the next couple months.
Thank you for that question, Sharon. Jimmy?
Just to follow up on that, I think it'd be important to maybe Member Rulon can touch on it too as we speak, but I mean, we do have about $4 million set aside for the Maxwell Station project, and I'm under no assumption that that's going to be $4 million worth of work that needs to do for everything we've asked. That was just leftover money towards it that we had appropriated. So before we even I think that's probably one of the things that comes to the forefront right off the bat is that extra money would need to go to that. I know Member Blair has also made a request for another $50,000 for her entrepreneurship program, but I just wanted to, initial conversations, and if anybody's walked through the highway department, the $4 million that we have there is going to be nowhere near to touch what we need to do. So just want to throw that out for basic understanding of the board. And then just want to touch on something that Calvin had mentioned earlier, the importance of those mod changes at the jail. Those have been unusable cells that are being put back online, which has been greatly beneficial to the sheriff, being able to have parts of the jail that were basically unusable being back to being usable. So and we did that at a very cost-effective rate on a T&M contract instead of putting that out to bid, and our T&M contracts are way more favorable for the going rates than if those would have gone out for a bid. So I think it's about $1,500 a cell, Scott, was it?
Yeah, roughly that number. It's pretty close to that.
So for a very minimal amount, we're taking cells that have been unusable and putting them back online for aging infrastructure. So great point Sharon brings up, but we got no shortage of outstanding things to use that money on. And I know everybody will have different ideas on that money, but just keep in mind Maxwell Station projects that we're going to start. I'm not 100% sure we have a funding way for everything that they're going to need.
Sharon?
Another questions. The Health and Human Service Campus, refresh my memory on that, Scott. So we're going to use the bucket of ARPA money first, and then the other two will kind of wrap that up on funding.
Since Heather does our actual accounting and reporting to the U.S. Treasury, I'm actually going to let her describe the funding stack and how it's being drawn down.
Thank you. That's a great question. So the first amount, or the first funding source used, was the health department funds, and those have been completely expended. The 4.7 million that they had designated for it, and now we're drawing down on the ARPA piece, and then after that, it's the last piece would be the capital projects fund. We had $500,000 reallocated to that, and then the sustainability fund, which those would be into the contingency, so not necessarily anticipating using those, but yeah.
Any other questions for Heather? Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
We'll get into our resolutions that the committee has. We have 3 of these resolutions, and we need a motion on the first one in regards to a speed limit. Motion by Betty. Thank you. Second.
North Triboli Road crosses goes between Triboli Township and Elmwood Township. We had some complaints. The Elmwood Road Commissioner had some complaints about speeding on the roadway and asked us to do a speed study. The road is currently posted or unposted, which means it's 55 miles per hour. After our speed study was looked at, we recommend posting it at 50 miles per hour. Both the Triboli and Elmwood Road Commissioners concur.
Any questions for Jeff? No questions. I'll call the vote on the resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Ayes have it. Thank you for that first resolution. I assume you're going to do the second one also as well. And we need a motion on this first of all. And a motion by Sharon, seconded by Terry.
We received some concerns about the speed limit on Big Hollow Road. The southern portion, this is from Vinton Avenue to Charter Oak Road. This is the hill that goes down to Charter Oak. It was posted at 40 miles per hour, while the rest of the road was posted at 45 miles per hour. The previous speed study had recommended 45 miles per hour for the roadway. That was back in 2013. But since that speed study was done, we have striped part of that roadway to have bicycle accommodations. So since we had conflicting information and the new accommodations for bicycles, we went ahead and did the speed study, and we found that 40 miles per hour would be the appropriate speed limit for that roadway. And we would post the entire roadway to 40 miles per hour.
Any questions for Jeff? No questions. We'll call for the vote on the resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. Moving on to our last resolution, which is going to be on page 59 for you who are using the hard copy like me. I don't know what it is on your iPads and so forth. But anyway, we need a motion first of all on this one. Motion by Betty, seconded by Danny Couch. Okay. Are you going to take that? Scott?
Happy to, Mr. Chairman. So if you recall last summer, you approved a resolution that was the first step in the process for appointing the county engineer. Amy's term is coming due, and it is the board's appointment, not the county administrators, to fill that position. The board, with broad support, and I believe unanimously approved the first step in the process. That was submitted to IDOT. IDOT did their thing, and now we have a secondary step that the process requires. In this last step, which is the resolution before you today, is actually making the appointment. And IDOT, as part of their process, has granted their consent. You'll see I believe their letter is in the packet, dated January 22nd of this year. So all that needs to be done, assuming you want to reappoint Amy as the county engineer, is passage of the resolution. Happy to try and answer any questions.
This will be her third appointment. I haven't changed my mind in regard to her work. I think it's been very good, and she's been steady in that position, and I think she works well with the people that she has to work with, and that's, let's face it, that's one of the number one things. And she gets the things that she needs to get done, and I haven't really heard too much complaints. In fact, I haven't heard any complaints. Okay, no comments? We need the committee to act on this resolution, and I'll call for the vote on it. All those favor the adoption of this resolution to reappoint her for a 6-year term, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone that's opposed, signify by saying no. Ayes have it, and so we're going to take this to the board as we have done twice before. I really see no problem with it. So we'll act accordingly. And now we are at the public comment. Anybody out there with a public comment? Nobody's out there with a public comment. Okay, miscellaneous. Being no miscellaneous, this meeting is adjourned.